Now I want to introduce you to Reed Fisher. His home was damaged during the wildfires in San Diego in 2007. This one was during campaign, and the callous among us, the cynics among us, would say, well, he's doing that because it's during a campaign. But you've heard the foundation of things that nobody knows about, and it's a life like this. Reed Fisher was in the middle of a fire. And how did you come across Mitt Romney?
Well, I should say it sort of starts with his son. Matt Romney lives in our general area, and he knew my son, Ethan. After the fires, the community came through and cleaned a lot of our lots off pretty much. And we weren't allowed back in our homes right away, but when we were, they came through and cleaned, the yards and tried to remove the debris. Mm-hmm. But one day I got a call, because we were out of our home, by the way, because repairs were still in progress and friends had arranged for us to be in another location. But I got a call from Matt, and he said, Reed, we want to come over and do something to help you. And I thought about it, and I said, Matt, they've come through and removed most of the debris. I'd had a lot of landscape that was burned and charred. But there was this one tree, one big pine tree that was in our very front that was torched during the fire. Well, when they came through, that tree could not be removed because it was going to take a lot more effort to dig out that stump. So I thought to myself, I'm not going to deny somebody the opportunity to help, and I needed the help. Right. And so I said, sure, Matt, bring the guys. He wanted to bring some other friends and come on over, and we'll set up that date.
Was this one of those, because I have to tell you, I'm probably the worst person here, because I'm the kind of guy who will call and say, do you need any help? And they'll say, no, I really don't. And I on the other end going, was this a sincere offer to help?
More than sincere. Okay. He pressed, he wanted to, I could sense in him that Matt, his son, had this feeling of, we want to help. I want to help and do something. So, we set the date for them to come. And that morning, I went off early to get some, in California we like burritos, so I got some breakfast burritos to bring back to the guys that were coming. Well, when I drove back to the house, as I approached the house, there was a big black Suburban at the top of the street, and we probably think that we don't know for sure, but the guy in the white jacket out the street should have alerted me that there was somebody different on our street. Probably Secret Service. I'm not sure to this day, but as I came down to the house, there in the hole were these four men just sawing and chopping and digging at this big tree stump.
Surrounded by press?
Oh no, no cameras. This was not a press event. But as I said to others, one of them was at that time a candidate for President of the United States of America. It was Matt's father, Mitt Romney. And how this came about is it just happened by coincidence that Mitt was in Southern California for some meetings. I think he was probably visiting Matt and seeing his grandchildren. And Matt told me that morning he'd been out for a run already. And when they were coming over to my house, Matt, said, I'm going to help this fellow. And Mitt said, I don't have to be to my meetings till later, I'll come too. And he did. Well, the thing that I'll always remember is no one had ever seen Mitt with his hair mussed up, but you have the pictures. And they, there was nobody working harder that day around that stump than Mitt. And I'd like to tell you this one point that really brings that out is in the middle of all of this, I walked over to Mitt and offered him some little, breakfast like I had done the others. And he just looked at me and said, maybe later, got to get this stump out. That told me something right away about a man that could focus. Then there was another instance with his son that I really want to share with your audience, and that is Mitt was working with his boy. And in one moment, as I stood there helping, he hollered at Matt and said, hey, Matt, get over here with that tool, get under this, we got to cut this. And I saw at that moment, this is not just a presidential candidate. This is a father who knows how to work with his son and who knows how to come and help a neighbor.
I have to tell you, I feel so guilty after this show. I feel like the worst slug in the world. And second, I mean, I have been very hard on Mitt Romney, and he's a decent man. He is a decent man. Yeah. It doesn't mean that his policies are necessarily the ones that everybody in the world has to agree with, but he is a decent man. Any reason besides politics that this stuff isn't told? I mean, this is...
Politics is the reason it's not told. Well, totally, in my mind. You know, I think that, you know, there's probably 100 reasons, but I think that people who... you tell these kinds of stories, it's hard to believe. You know, it's hard to swallow.
Matt made it very clear when they left that day. Again, there were no cameras. We have pictures because I called my wife quickly on my cell phone and said, you better come over here and see.
Anybody cover this?
Not at that day,
right.
But it's been shown since then.
Okay.
But no, and Matt made it clear, this is not a publicity. This was not done for publicity. I just wanted to come help, and Dad was here. And Matt said something else to me. He said, thank you, Reed. I said, thank you for coming to help. And he said, thank you, Reed. This is something that Dad used to get us boys up to do, to go sometimes on weekend mornings. And we don't get to do this that much anymore. Thank you.
Thank you guys for sharing. Back in a minute.